TIL that a Chinese businessman hired a hitman to take out a competitor for $282,800. That hitman hired another hitman, offering $141,000. That man hired another hitman, who hired another hitman, who hired another hitman. The fifth hitman simply asked the man to fake his death. Outsourcing at its finest. People are so fucking lazy. This should be a movie. Reminds me of the Chinese taxi driver who agreed to take us to another town, maybe 50 or 100 kilometers away. He went some way in the right direction, called someone, then stopped and told us to get out. Another car was waiting, which took us another stretch, and so on. I'm in China, apparently the rights to the movie were bought pretty quickly. That man, understandably, went straight to the police and they all were arrested. XD. Sounds like a pyramid scheme. This is basically the first act of Attack of the Clones. That's why you don't outsource. And people say the Chinese don't understand capitalism. This is how most contracting jobs work, legal and illegal. This reminds me of a story I read somewhere. A man got hired in as a software developer for a smaller company. They paid him $100K/year. For the first few weeks he did his assignments normally, but eventually he came up with a clever plan. He reached out to an Indian software company and hired them for $20K/year to do his assignments for him. He gave them access to his workstation through a VPN. So for the next 5 years he watched videos and browsed the internet. He went undiscovered until the company hired a new IT guy who did an audit of the network and discovered the VPN connection. The company fired the man and hired the company directly, saving $80K/year. I know a guy who knows a guy. Here, a good example of subcontracting 101. 5 years is not too bad, got off pretty easy. First off, welcome to Ancapistan. Second, contractors, death and business, always outsource and subcontract. Failed hitman sequels. What started out as a simple murder for hire scheme, $17,675 to the last hitman, FYI. So, a hit was contracted, then through a series of subcontractors each taking a profit, the final job was done to no one's satisfaction. Sounds like the construction industry, except no change orders. I'm Mr. Meezeeks, look at me. Django Fett would like to know your location. What Tan didn't know was that Wei was suicidal. When the hitman approached him, he happily agreed to the deal on the condition that he fights a heroic fight against 5 hitmen and only succumbs at the end. Of course, the last hitman agreed to this easy money and so published the story in a newspaper. The police saw the article and arrested all the hitmen and 10/s. An infinite number of mathematicians walks into a bar. The first orders a pint, the second orders half a pint, the third orders a quarter pint, and so on. Annoyed, the bartender pours 2 pints and tells them to figure it out for themselves. If you wanted to ruin someone's life through a pyramid scheme, just enroll them in Herbalife. It's hitmen all the way down. R/subcontractors. Honestly, if I were the guy I wouldn't even bother faking my death. Apparently every hitman in China is too much of a pansy to do the job, and I bet the only reason the last guy spilled the beans was because he couldn't find anyone willing to do the dirty work for $8,812. If you fake your death, I'll give you $5. I guess those guys were _ subcontract killers _ trickle down hitmanomics. This could make a hilarious movie. I'd love to watch it or read the book. You're supposed to hire fixer who'll hire 2 hitman. First hitman to do the actual job. A second hitman who'll kill the first hitman to eliminate any loose ends. Attacks of the Clones doesn't seem so wild now. It's hitman all the way down. It's hitman all the way down. It's hitman all the way down. That is why you pay Assassin Guild rates. Lord Downey would never let any member pull something like this. Palpatine trying to get Padme killed. It's hitmans all the way down. Morality of the story, you simply can't trust Chinese contractors. It's hitman all the way down. Trickle-down economics. Basically Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. Trickle-down economics in action. Deleted. Must have been one scary motherfucking dude. Like Samuel L. Jackson. So instead of hiring one hitman for a lot of money, you should hire multiple hitmen for less money each. Even hitmen are subcontracting immigrants and taking profit. I'd like to register a complaint, please. Chinese whispers at its finest. It's kind of like the Amway of contract killing. This is why we put the middleman and get it done ourselves. Would make for a great movie, dark comedy. The Chinese model. This sounds like a plot for a comedy movie. 2 years apiece for the hitman, 5 for the guy that ordered the hit. Seems like pretty light penalties for attempted murder, might even be worthwhile from a purely business standpoint. Assassinception. Yeah, they hired a fucking hitman alright. Wait, did they also sentence Ling, the guy who snitched? No, not Ling. Laughing when subcontracting goes wrong. This sounds like plot to a Guy Ritchie film. Having lived in Florida for the past 800 years. Now that is trickle-down economics. Sounds like that joke that hit the front page a few weeks ago. Short version. The White House wants to hire someone to upgrade the perimeter fence. The Chief of Staff brings in 3 contractors, one from Texas, one from Tennessee and one from Illinois. The Texan takes his measurements, crunches the numbers, and tells the Chief of Staff that it'll cost $800. The Tennessean takes his own measurements, talks to his crew, and says it'll cost $750. The guy from Illinois takes one look at the fence, doesn't take any measurements, and flatly tells the Chief of Staff that it'll cost $2,750. That's outrageous, the Chief of Staff says. Why would you be so much more expensive? You didn't even take any measurements. The contractor from Illinois shrugs. He says 1,000 for me, 1,000 for you, and we get the jackass from Tennessee to do the work. And that is the wonderful world of subcontracting. Till there's a killing to be made in assassination arbitrage. This is how regular government business contracts work in the U.S. Totally reminds me of a joke about Germans, Italians, and Greeks and a public works contract. Weird pyramid scheme. This seems like a brilliant idea for a movie. Trickle-down economy. Talk about outsourcing. This is the plot to a great movie. When is the movie going into production? This is hilarious. Were they Chinese hitmen all just talking everyone down? LOL. Last guy got paid $37.75 to tell him to go on vacation for the weekend. It's this a movie? I would watch the fuck out of this movie. #urban investing. Hi, I'm Mr. Meeseeks, look at me. I might have taken that $282,800 deal depending on the circumstances. That's like 5 years of lower middle class wages. Chinese whispers took on a whole new meaning. That's got to be the best hitman that I've ever seen. This is borderline the plot to the whole 9 yards. You know, as weird as this sounds, this is pretty much how all business contract deals work in China. For example, take building construction. A contractor is hired, then that contractor hires someone else to do the job for less money, and that new contractor goes and finds someone else to do it for less, and so on until the final guy just can't find any other way to do it for less, so has to do it in the cheapest and shoddiest way possible. And I'm not talking about contractors hiring subcontractors to do sections of the project, but outsourcing the entire project to someone else for less money and pocketing the difference. It's how you wind up with buildings that fall over when there's just a strong wind or something. Everything is good on our side, sorry but we can't do anything. Are you satisfied with the hitman customer services? Not at all. Okay, have a great day, mister, thanks for calling us. They're paying me $1.75 to kill you. Can you go lay low for a while? The hitman didn't want anyone checking the scene too closely, no Chinese checkers. So, I guess the last hitman didn't really break any laws, right? LOL. The rest of them, including the original dude, tried to solicit someone to murder, but the last guy just took the money and asked nicely.